Yes, we are live now. Thank you very much for coming here. This is the 11th Turkey Energy Forum, sponsored by Clifford Chance and Çiftçi Law Firm. Today we are going to discuss with great panelists about the electricity networks and investing in infrastructure. So I am going to introduce each of the speaker by myself, and then I would like to ask them if they would like to add on the top of it with the questions. First, I would like to start with Mr. Serhat Can. He is the project consultant of the Turkey Smart Grid 2023 vision and the strategy project, which is the first outcome is presented on 2018 by Energy Market Regulatory Authority and Electricity Distributors Association. Mr. Serhat Can has extensive experience in consulting electricity distribution companies. He is currently chairman of board in MRC Turkey. Mr. Serhat Can, perhaps it's the best to start from you to summarize the outcomes of the Turkey Smart Grid Vision and Strategy 2023. Could you explain what is the current situation of the project and what are the main opportunities and threats of the project in terms of financing for the Turkish DSOs?
Thank you, Can Bey. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are now listening us. Yes, we have completed the project beginning of 2018, and we started end of 2016. So it took more than a year for us to complete. And during the project, we actually analyzed all the DSOs' maturity in the smart grids. So we compared 21 of them in 10 different areas. And there we realized that there is no homogeneity between the DSOs. Their maturity levels in different topics widely apart from each other. So therefore, our project suggested that the DSOs should actually have necessary budgets to compensate their existing low levels to catch the overall average maturity levels. However, in the third implementation period, which was between 2016 and 2020, EMRA provided only 5% of the network investments as budget for IT/OT investments, which smart grid investments were going to happen from that 5%. So it wasn't really high. And also, from the technical aspects, DSOs did not really give enough attention or priority for smart grids. When we consider smart grids, obviously there should be certain phases, like you have to start with R&D, then pilot projects, then rollout projects. And unfortunately, DSOs still do not really put into rollout plans. Only a couple of them now had a smart grid roadmap for themselves. Our study was for the nation, and our objective was to present a future until 2035. And we try to emphasize that there is a paradigm change and there will be lots of outside events or parameters. Therefore, DSOs should adapt themselves to face this challenge. Therefore, currently, what we are facing is, first of all, still the budget is only 5%. So there is a budget limitation. Therefore, DSOs should be smarter to use a limited budget to get the maximum benefit out of the smart grid developments. Just as an example, DSOs are relying on GSMs to exchange data between assets and themselves, especially smart meters or remote meters. However, there should be other telecommunication media should be used, like in the older Western world. But DSOs are not really exploring other alternatives enough. Some of them are using certain technologies, but it is not enough. They have to have a plan, initial plan, as for the communication, because GSM infrastructure, until 5G comes, isn't really effective in the communication side. So this is one of the, let's say, failing point of DSOs for the time being. Plus, obviously, other items like electrical cars, like storage, like other smart grid elements, they are not really in the real scope of DSO management. I know technically many managers in DSOs, technical managers, are trying to do some things, but still, this is not in the priority list of the managements. This has to change because the world is changing, and DSOs should put pressure on EMRA to provide maybe additional budgets. From EMRA side point of view, DSOs are not using this budget effectively, so they want to keep a limit. So this is a kind of dilemma to solve. So DSOs should bring a very comprehensive feasibility studies in front of EMRA to ask additional budgets. Otherwise, this budget will stay as it is, and therefore needed investments in the smart grid infrastructure will never be done. So this is the key issue for the moment in the fourth implementation period, which is just started, and it will go until the end of 2025.
Thank you.
Just maybe one more sentence. In the study, we also gave a very broad roadmap for each DISCO with maybe hundreds of different project ideas. And we will see whether they will really follow those guidelines.
Thank you very much for sharing with us the outcome of the Turkey's smart grid project and the threats and the difficulties. Perhaps it's also important to remember that the liberalization of the Turkish electricity market has just came after the European electricity market. And it would also be good to compare our threats on smart grid roadmap with European unions. And Mr. Cezmi Bilmez is with us. Mr. Cezmi Bilmez holds a PhD from RWTH Aachen, and he has energy distribution and supply experience both in Turkey and Germany for more than 20 years. He is currently head of grid technologies in Uniper and Elite Impact Circle member. I would like to ask Mr. Cezmi Bilmez, how is the European smart grid roadmap going? And as Mr. Serhat mentioned, issues in Turkey, such as the regulatory authorities' budget dilemma with DSOs, I guess you have similarities in European Union. How do the regulatory authority tackle these threats? And what are the opportunities you see in Turkey?
Yeah. So Thank you very much, Canbay, for the introduction. And also from my side, good morning, good day, good evening, whatever, from where you are listening us. It's a pleasure to be invited also into this excellent round. And I think I do have personally a good advantage. I worked long time in Turkey, I worked long time in Germany. I'm now back in Germany and in the center of the European Union. And I think I could follow up and understand quite straightforward what Serhat Bey explained us. For sure, we have similar challenges here in Germany and also in other countries in Europe. But Europe, I think, overspanning issue, we should have a look to get a little bit better understanding what the European situation is. Turkey is connected to the NCOE concerning transmission, that everybody is aware. And we had, unfortunately, I think 2.5 weeks before, this quite strange situation that southeast of the NCOE has to be disabled or closed out, so to prevent further frequent trips. So that means energy is not stopping at the borders, and the challenges what we have in Turkey are not ending at the border to Bulgaria or to Georgia or whatever. It is continuing into all countries. So to give you also a little bit of understanding how the situation here, especially in Germany, is, you know, in Germany we have 4 TSOs, yeah, and we have near to 900 DSO companies, yeah, partly private, but also some kind of holding by bigger cities or municipalities. Yeah, and you have to understand also that some of them are multi-utilities. That means they are looking after electricity, gas, etc., water, disabled, whatever it is. So, but I will continue also looking only on the electricity distribution, which is now the issue what we are discussing here. Yeah, and I think the word unbundling is a big issue in Germany and in Europe, because there are responsibilities for the TSOs and for the DSOs, and they're very critical that either the TSOs or the DSOs are overjumping any rules where to stop and where the responsibility starts and where it stops. Yeah, so the TSOs, especially in Germany, and this I think you could reflect also on a lot of other European countries, are responsible to keep the frequency in level and to transport the energy to the DSOs, full stop. And then it stops. And the DSOs concerning, due to unbundling, they are then only really, and this is not a small task for sure, I understand this, responsible to deliver the energy to the end customer. Yeah, this we have to understand really clearly. And there was last year a big initiative how this unbundling could be reformed or revised in such a manner that the DSOs gets more competencies to deal with energy amounts. Means acting and earning also additional money in their budgets to get this invested. I will come in a minute to this issue, then further on. But this activity stopped last year, and I'm not awaiting that before the next elections this will come up again. So it is on hold. So we are here in Germany in some kind also of a changing of the whole cooperation between the DSOs and TSOs. Yeah, this is a new area where now this biggest challenge, which is coming really from above, that means decarbonization, decentralized power generation, and the percentage of renewable energy, yeah, which will raise, and we have overall goals, you know this, I do not need to repeat them, 2035, 2050, whatever. So that means everybody is now, and every country is forced to go into this direction. And what does this mean concerning also investments? We see here, especially in Germany and other European countries, the situation that the investment volumes, which were maybe before 8 years, 10 years, much more focused on power generation assets. Yeah, by the way, Uniper is producing with near to 35 megawatt installed capacity, also energy. So we know exactly where the travel is going to. Now, the bigger power plants will stop down and smaller units will come into the place. That means also the investment volumes, which maybe were 8 years, 10 years before, in a range of 60% of the total investment in the energy sector was divided maybe 60%, 65% into power generation and the rest into transmission and distribution. And this is going to change totally especially in the next 5-10 years, towards that it will really replace the other one. That means we are awaiting here in Germany and other European countries that the investments into transmission and distribution grids will take the first place, getting much smarter, highly digitalized and controllable, and instruments like artificial intelligence to foresee any upcoming problems either in the TSO network or in the DSO network will prevent, and to prevent then upcoming unexpected situations, to act earlier, to secure the delivery of energy to the clients. Yeah.
Mr. Cezmi, it's very interesting that we see the increase in the distributed energy resources, which is changing the role of DSO and adding new duties such of TSOs. And this would also be meaning that in the future DSOs can earn additional money for those investments, adding these TSO responsibilities. Now, I would like to turn the table to Mr. Alper. We have learned about developments and investments on the physical side of the grid. Mr. Saratcan explained very well the threats in Turkey and how they can be tackled. And we also heard the developments in the European market. Now we would like to learn more about the digital side of the grid. We can collect the data from the metering points and manage the operations remotely on the grid. What kind of operations need to be managed remotely by the DSO in Turkey at the moment? How would that affect the grid constraints? So Mr. Alper Terzian holds PhD from ODTÜ. He has started his career as a chief researcher at the Scientific and Technological Research Council Turkey. Later, he founded Endox and Innovitas, developing power management systems and software for distribution companies. And he extended business in Australia and India. Please give us digital innovation investment examples from Turkey, Mr. Terzian, and which innovations will be a hot topic in the near future.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. And it was a pleasure also for me to be here with you today. Actually, as Serhat Bey mentioned, actually the budget for the Turkish DSOs for these investments on the smart grid applications actually is limited to only 5% of the total investment budget. Even though this is the budget for the last 5 years, maybe we can say that the distribution companies in Turkey have done well. Actually, it's not bad. They have invested on some basic infrastructure. First of all, monitoring the power grid and also control it a little bit, actually, within this budget limit. And also the regulations actually pushing the utilities in Turkey may help us or may help the utilities to invest on some parts in this manner, especially for the last couple of years. Outage management systems, which is very important for the utilities in Turkey, they have invested a lot as an effect of the regulations output, actually. But as I said, actually, it was good, and for the next 5 years period, actually, which is started this year, the utilities still have the limited budget, but the main change, I guess, for the last 5 years, that the investment, this money, where it should go, and I think this is understood very well. And then what we see that now utilities are mostly trying to invest on for increasing the efficiency in actually operating the grid, operating this network, operating their staff. And this efficiency perspective actually let them invest on more on the digital tools which can monitor better and which can control or manage better. So what we'll see in the maybe next 5 years, yes, the still conventional SCADA and the monitoring systems will be done as it's before. Because the Turkey is a big country, and now actually Serhat Bey knows better than me, as now actually the observability of the grid, distribution grid, is not at the level we can say that it is okay for us. So we still need investment on that part. But now in the next 5 years, I guess the investment in this part, the SCADA and the monitoring part, the idea will not be investing more on the concentrated points, but maybe cost-effective solutions, which lead us or which led us actually having more penetration in the grid. So more observability and of course more controllability. And the other thing is that I think in the next 5 years, the utilities will focus on more managing their staff at site, because this efficiency is very, very important. And as a result of, again, regulations, some regulations changed, as you know, last month, and this, you know, we have some tariffs now, which they can get benefit from that, or maybe they can get some penalties as well. But there is an opportunity there. So if they increase their efficiency in operation and maintenance, and also if they can increase their some indices, the KPIs, you know, the SAIDI and the SAIFI indices. So if they can increase these indices and have better operation and maintenance issues very well, then the utilities will also get benefit, not only because of the inherently the efficiency of these operations, because they will earn money because of that efficiency, and as well as getting some bonuses and incentives from the you know, the regulatory body, EMRA. So I guess in the next term, the efficiency in these operations will be the main focus actually of the utilities. And on the other hand, it is very good that, and I agree with Serhat Bey, there is a gap here, but I hope this gap will be smaller and smaller in the next couple of years, the alignment of the technical people and the management. So the technical people in the utilities know and have better understanding of what is coming up, and in the future, in the near future, what problems we will face with. And then that's why the direction of the investments, very small right now, but the direction of the R&D projects or the POCs and all the understanding is going to that, the distributed energy resources and the EVs and the storage systems, and of course the prosumers will be the main issues of the utilities in the next, in the maybe near future, and the technical people know that very well. And I hope the gap between the management and the technical people also will be lower in the next years, and so that investments may be focusing on more and more on this part. And I would like then one more sentence. Actually, the main thing is here, the managements of these utilities actually maybe should understand that in order to make an investment, you don't need always a budget, because at the end of this investment, you will get benefit from the efficiency itself. So I hope maybe these progress or the development in this technology area, actually, EV chargers, storage, and the distributed generations, the management also will understand, and they need to do this, or they have to do this in order to get benefit of these new tools or technologies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alper. So you have talked about the EV chargers that are coming up, the prosumer installed capacity is actually increasing in Turkey, and the distributed energy resources. And actually, that would be great to ask Mr. Erdem Sezer, who works in one of the prominent energy supplier company, Aksa Energy. Mr. Erdem Sezer holds a master's degree from Dundee University and worked in energy investment consulting in his early career. Now he is currently working in Aksa and develops new energy as a service projects. I would like to ask Mr. Erdem Sezer, we are actually experiencing a huge competition in the market between prominent energy suppliers in developing rooftop solar projects and EV charging. And we know that the energy storage is also the key to energy as a service. What is the importance of DSO's role in enabling energy as a service? And in midterm and long term, what are the key infrastructure investments needed from DSOs? And you can also explain your own projects.
Dijan, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very pleased to be the part of this event and happy to be speaking about very hot topic for Turkey, which is distributed energy resources and the investment scale in utility side. Well, let me give some brief information about Turkey's development in the distributed energy side. You know that Turkey is undergoing a rapid transition. The principal among these contributor is the adoption of the distributed energy resources. This is a real fact. So today, the unlicensed capacity in Turkey, as we all know, that is around 6,800 megawatt, where the solar PV only is the 92% of this. It's the major proportion is provided by the solar itself. But there are still pending capacities, including the YEKA and rooftop solar PV project. Sector is expecting around 45 gigawatt capacity by 2023. Only from rooftop solar. This is a huge amount of capacity, and I'm happy to say that this achievement is a mutual product of the government, private sector, and the financial institutions. So on the other side, that according to Turkey's Electricity and Hybrid Cars Association, there are around 1,500 electric cars sold in 2020, including the gray market sales. So it was around 250 in 2019. I mean, so we are more than double the sales in the electricity car. So this is an enormous expansion for the development of the energy market in Turkey, because in addition to that, there are more than 2,000 charging stations actively operating in Turkey, which is spread all around the distribution companies in Turkey. So in the light of these developments, as Aksa, as a major energy player in Turkey, we are strategically investing both rooftop solar PV plants and charging stations. You may all follow from news that we completed our first project in Fenerbahçe facilities in Topuk Yaylası with a 5-year agreement. As being Turkey's one of the biggest energy company, we are proud to build such a partnership with Fenerbahçe Sport Club. Not only provide a commercial deal, but also contribute to the sustainable energy environment of Turkey. So I'm happy to announce that there are more projects will be commissioned soon by our company. On the other hand, we are also interested in the charging stations. We monitored the market for a long time and anticipated the customer demand to reach a certain maturity. I think the potential in Turkey is growing more than the expected level. So as being a major energy company, we will be one of the key players in the installation of charging stations soon, and one project will be commissioned and announced in a short period of time. We are also enthusiastic for understanding the future of energy along with the customer demand. We are also following trends in smart home applications and already selling products for improving energy efficiency in our retail regions. Coming to your questions and relevance with the distribution companies, we are seeing that distributed energy sources dramatically expand across the country. And as being an industry expert, we are wrestling with how to effectively and equitably incorporate them into the greater bulk electricity system. So the question is that the distributed energy resources are complement or frustrate the grid transition. To me, the main consideration of the grid should be providing and managing the availability and the flexibility in the system. So if there is no availability provided for the small-scale investments like rooftop solar and charging stations, cannot be operated cost efficiently, which will be in the end to the detriment of the investments in this field. So to my knowledge, John, the grid operators should well establish and operate the monitoring systems such as SCADA systems, which Alper
I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
We lost connection.
Until he comes back, actually, it's he stopped in an important part,
Yes.
and I can follow it up quickly because we have only 10 minutes. Mr. Serhat is also there, right? Yes.
Yes.
I can see him. Okay. So this is very interesting that Erdem was talking about using DSO infrastructure to implement their projects. And I would like to ask first to Mr. Cezmi Bilmez if you would like to make a data
Erdem is back. Erdem is back.
Not yet.
Not okay.
Not yet.
So this data-driven economy, how do EU countries solve this problem? Because one of the issues in Turkey is the data sharing regulations. And would that also be, if these energy as a service providers increase, would that also be an extra income for the distribution companies in the future supplying the data for service providers?
So thank you very much, John. I think this is again a very, very interesting question. Yeah, private data sharing. This is, I think I know at least 2 years before the situation in Turkey. There will be for sure Ceylan and the other colleagues will or could tell more about. But please take into consideration that the regulations for sharing private data in Germany is double. This is even harder because the protection of the German culture and the behavior of German people are very, very strict by sharing any data. And they're not so open as Turkish people handling also with such issues. That means digitalization, when I had my first track in this round, I've mentioned this digitalization, and this is including also data sharing and willingness. That's a culture. That's a cultural challenge also, where am I ready to share this information? And then in the second step, could I participate to get a benefit out of it back to me? So this is a circle. This is a circle where we all need to break in as countries, yeah, and as regions. And I think this awareness is coming up. And this is, I'm very sure that this will guarantee also to DSOs additional budgets and money. But I think the biggest challenge is here, as I mentioned, besides technical systems, which Alper maybe comment much better than I do, or that I could do. I think the biggest challenge, I will go on to the characteristics of people in the countries and the willingness to do so. This is the biggest issue. I think the networks, to build the networks, how to interact with data, etc., this is everything is solvable. This isn't only a technical issue, but also the willingness to say, I'm going to move my contract, my electricity bill every month. I'm tackling and move from A company to B company, or do a mix of this one, which is from my perspective, and I'm also willing to pay for green energy 10% more by pushing and supporting the environment, whatever. All the solutions are really, there is a pre-request that I'm willing to handle in this environment. And if I look on me, you could spread it over the country and the regulations has to follow. Again, what I could repeat at this point, technically I see not a problem to develop our countries into this direction. This is not the issue. I think the readiness of the people who are living in this area, in this country, this is also a huge challenge, which in some countries are harder. But I strongly believe, by knowing the Turkish culture, Turkey will get a very fast track on these issues, much faster than Germany. This I could tell you also into this round, and I'm strongly believe that Turkey will manage.
We have the similar feeling, but I would like to ask the same question to Mr. Serhatcan, because he is also aware of the challenges to share metering data with third parties in Turkey and the difficulties. Would that be possible to use this data infrastructure to be shared with the third parties to enable energy as a service? Energy as a service.
Before answering that question, let me give you one information, which is 21 DSOs will invest with today's currency $350 million in the next 5 years. So we have been talking about budget, and maybe some people wants to know the budget. So it is $350 million in the next 5 years. This is for IT, OT investments. This is one thing. Second point I would like to stress is we also have a dilemma about public awareness about this new energy transition. Why is it there? In Turkey, we don't really see carbon footprint. We don't see a future goal of the community for a fossil-free environment. Okay? When you don't have this, and if you put more capex on smart grid, which will increase distribution fees, and public doesn't want to pay more to electricity. So this is a dilemma, and this can only be overcome by increasing awareness of the public, awareness of media, awareness of unions or NGOs, so that people should support this. So Cezmi Bey talk about the increasing TND in EU, okay? But this means increasing distribution fee.
Yeah.
Then the consumers, how would they react to this increase? So we have really other issues to resolve first, then go to this route. We are, I think, doing a Turkish way, and I think this is not. We should be doing maybe German way, not Turkish way.
Maybe a midway, Serhat Bey.
Or maybe midway. But today, when we touch the energy system, it is like a kind of elephant, okay? Everybody is touching on the one side. Nobody is seeing the elephant. So this is really, in my opinion, very critical to resolve first. So we can't really accuse EMRA. We can't accuse DSOs. We can't accuse the investors, because nobody is talking about sustainability. Okay, so investor wants to see a sustainable future, meaning it has to be in Turkish lira environment. There shouldn't be any foreign currencies involved. We are talking about national resources, fine, but how we are going to handle this with fossil-free environment? So we have a challenge to overcome. So in the future, we have to find solutions on these. Of course, in parallel, we have to talk about technology, we have to talk smart things, fine. But I mean, before coming to sharing the data, we have to really solve basic issues first. Okay, and from the sharing data point of view, if it is the customer is eligible, meaning his consumption data is available from EPH, right? Because he is connected there, and that data is available everybody. So there is no concern about the data sharing if eligibility is there. But for example, coming back to the same point, if as a consumer, I would like to see my hourly consumption, but my consumption is not that high, why on earth I can actually put a smart meter at my house, in my house, paying it? Why the regulation is preventing this? Why the regulation is insisting on that meters has to purchase procured by the DSO? It is only $100. As a consumer, I can decide this, right? For a, let's say, a green energy point of view, Cezmi Bey pointed out, why to talk about the certification? As a consumer, I should register myself as a green energy consumer, and my consumption should be deducted from YEKDEM. It is simple. Why I should go for a certification? So many things can be resolved from different ways, okay? But as a community, as a country, we have to agree on one thing. Future is black if we don't take actions. And this year, you know, everybody's talking draft. Everybody is now talking about climate change, but nobody is talking about the solutions. Carbon-free environment has to be in the market, in everybody's tongue. Everybody should be talking about this. So this is the real thing. Everything else will follow this. Believe me. We need a goal.
Yeah, indeed. For every project and for energy strategies, the leadership is the key that the public and the regulators can discuss for ages. But if they have a direction and a strategy, one goal, like Mr. Serhat mentioned, and it is the decarbonization of the grid, then we know what to do and how to reach there. I also would like to ask the same question about the data sharing to Mr. Alper, and would like to hear his experiences in Australia, actually. Very short, because we have now a limited 5 minutes. Yes, Mr. Alper.
Thank you. You know, we have been operating.
Sorry, Mr. Alper. And also your experience with blockchain and what would add on your services.
Okay, I'm trying to tell about maybe in 2 minutes. As you know, we have been operating in Australia for the last 3 years, and we see obviously that the main difference actually there, yes, there is a goal, there is a public goal, government goal, to have some sustainable future and sustainable economy as well, not only the future actually in terms of environment, but also the economy. And then that's why the consumers and the prosumers are willing to share data, and the system is already established, and you can exchange data easily in order to implement a business model on that data. So that's the main challenge, I think, in Turkey for companies like us, for example, because we are trying to do same in Turkey. However, we have some problems. First of all, there is no any unified data exchange system in Turkey. For example, in one utility, if you would like to get data from the smart meter, you have to integrate that. On the other utility, you have to integrate completely another system if the utility agrees or accepts to give that data to you. That's the main challenge. Of course, the readiness level of technology is okay, fine right now. I agree with Cezmi Bey and Serhat Bey. Today, the technology led us to implement anything we want. We can do that. For example, for the smart meters, the customers or the consumers can easily get or buy the meters behind their electricity meter in their houses. And so they can start to be a part of this game, this new energy game, because there are many companies like us, for example, we are providing these devices to our customers to put their facilities, and then we can start monitor real time and create some value on that. I think that's the second challenge maybe in our country is that, you know, the willingness is okay. We see that. For example, we had a survey in Izmir region last month in 200 houses, residential actually customers, and then 95% of them agree to put a device in their houses and ready to pay that, and to get data, to share data as well. So there is nothing about the willingness or other things in Turkey right now. There are many actual problems. And maybe last thing about the blockchain, maybe just only one sentence, Can. So in order to implement all these new things in the future in a democratic and in a transparent way, and then not under control as some parties actually, of course, we need some solutions based on the blockchain and to implement these technologies and get or create more value for all stakeholders, not only utilities or retailers, but also the prosumers. We need these new business models which can rely on these new maybe blockchain technologies. Thank you.
Thank you. And last question to Erdem, and it comes from Mr. Servet Akgün. It's actually for all of us, but I think Erdem, as a business developer of AXA, can answer to this. I was searching for answers to find out, do we need an infrastructure for data sharing, which can be led by energy distribution companies, but Mr. Servet says, with the consent of the consumer, with ultra low cost IoT devices in the market, we can get and replicate the data. Do we really need any regulation? What is your take on this one, Erdem? And do you think that a data sharing system would be essential for VPP implementations or future demand side management programs?
Thank you.
Very
John.
short, by the way. We have 2 minutes.
Okay, I think I had a connection problem, so I couldn't complete my sentences, but I believe there will be another opportunity to do that later on. For me, the data is everything for the market. I am in this market for around more than 10 years. So I'm dealing with the non-transparent data for a long time. But the recent years, I think, exceeded this issue really bad way with the help of the APIs. For data sharing stuff, I believe there will be certain security measures should be implemented. And the cybersecurity, I think, is the main consideration. I'm not a technical expert for that, but I am in the data, dealing with the data every day. The security is everything. So once you provide the security, and if you certificate that this security is provided, I think data should be shared with anybody. I believe the blockchain will be the major part of this technology. But to my knowledge, that the blockchain is the very advanced way of it, but not a mature way for Turkey specific recently. I believe once we increase the quality of the data, once we increase the sharing methods, once we improve the security methods and we regulate those security, I think we should not regulate the data sharing. We should regulate how we're going to secure the data. How we're going to we're going to secure the personality of the data. That should be regulated with legislation. After that, I think data sharing can be done because if we do not share the data, if we do not use the data, the fruits that are provided by the technology like AI, like smart analysis trading system that we are using in AXA here, are useless. So I believe that this will be solved in the near future, and then we're going to use more effectively both AI tools and smart analysis trading tools in an effective way.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone. Our panelists, Mr. Cezmi Bilmez from Düsseldorf, Mr. Alper from Ankara, Mr. Serhat Can also from Ankara, and Mr. Erdem Sezer from Istanbul.